The Wednesday week is sponsored by the Riverside Cafe, the perfect place for a pre-match pint.
There's a chance here, a great save by Turner from McClare. A terrific goal by Sheridan.
Are you on mute?
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me on the line, first of all, we have Mr. Marriott. Jamesy, it'll be now the chuff for you.
I am splendid. I'm enjoying my beer of choice is a Plum Goza beer, which is brewed with Italian plums, and I do like Italian plums.
Do you enjoy Italian plums?
What was that second word? Is that not the baddie from Ghostbusters?
Italian plums?
No, that'd have been a weird one, wouldn't it? All right, I love you like my plums, ain't it? I'm a big ghost. What are you saying? No, what was the second word? Goza. Is that Goza the Gozerian?
Goza, yeah.
Yeah, Goza the Destroyer.
Yeah.
Oh, but Bill Murray goes and fucks him up and smashes him to bits when he turns into Marshmallow Man. I've seen it before.
Where there's a war?
We didn't manage a minute before Fudge started swearing. What would your mother think?
I've had a cup of tea.
Should you really be drinking like alcohol from a war zone? Like, is that not like funding a war?
What? It's from Connecticut.
No?
It's from Connecticut in America.
I don't know. Goes. I'm sure I've heard of that.
Yeah, Ghostbusters.
This is random.
Fall there.
I'm going to wrestle.
Gaza
Back.
Strip. Cut that. I'm a very intelligent lady.
No, leave it in.
No.
The outtakes are supposed to go at the end, my darling, not at the beginning.
I meant the Gaza Strip. I just did a quick Google. I don't know what I meant.
Yeah, it was Gaza is the beer. Goza is the.
Didn't Gaza play for Newcastle?
Yeah,
Is that the same guy?
got booked in the semi-final of the World Cup.
And as you most probably heard, legends, Victoria's with us. Darling, how the devil are you?
I'm not Victoria. I'm somebody else.
Are you Gaza?
Not Gaza.
Oh, shut up.
Was that a snore?
The posh folk around us. Fudgy, or Bean, how the chuff are you, my lad?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just woke up. Just had a cup of tea. Just had a woke up since Saturday afternoon after watching that that display. But I'm sure we'll get to that. See what I did there? Segue. Talking about football already. Look at that.
And last but by certainly not means Mr. Dickie Owl, how the chuff are you, Rich or Bean?
I'm very, very well, thank you. I've just been ignoring football as usual since about 4:45, maybe even a little bit earlier on Saturday, and just playing dumb, which I'm good at before you say it.
Wouldn't even consider it, oh boy. Right, so first of all, ladies and gents, we would like to apologise for our absence last week, and we do hope you enjoyed the retro show. Obviously, Fudge was mother on that show, which he's not been for a while, and you probably found out why. Oh, I love it, Fudge. But no, it really does go to show how far the club has come in the last 5 years, and obviously that's something we can discuss for another day as well. So, first things first, we'll go into some football, shall we? Because it's been a thrilling time for Sheffield Wednesday Football Club just recently. So, chaps, and chapettes, of course, who would like to start? I'm going to hold on to my hat for this one.
I'll let you pick this one up, James. You picked it up. I picked it up last time. You can have this one because I don't know what to make of all that.
All right. Well, it's quite interesting because we haven't really talked about football, have we, since the Villa game? Because the last podcast we did was basically just like 2 hours of all like just wanking over ourselves, pretty much. There wasn't any real football chatter in it, was there? No, it was, though, wasn't it? That's what it was. It was 2 hours of us, of us just kind of tossing over how great we are.
Yeah.
And here's the strange thing, because we've had an international break as well, and there genuinely hasn't been much to talk about. We've had 3 games where we've got 3 points, As far as I can work out, in those 3 games, we've had 3 shots on target, one of which was a penalty. So the single only thing that's happened that's actually worth us talking about is Atty scoring. And that's only really worth talking about because it's flipping hilarious. There's just nothing. There is
You've
absolutely
mispronounced his
nothing
name
else.
there. It is the saviour of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, Atty Newhugh. You must pronounce his full title.
Yeah.
That is correct, my
Well,
lord.
as I say,
that is
and I'm sure we'll
correct.
spend 10 minutes kind of going over all this, which is why it's hilarious.
Do you know what? Right, if Jordan Rhodes had scored that bloody goal, everyone would have been like, there's your 10 million quid, that's your 10 million right there, he saves games. Because it's Dave.
Because it's Dave who's
Nobody
not
gives a
scored in
shit.
42 appearances. Yeah, that's right. I don't give a shit.
What?
Of about 6 minutes each.
Sorry,
appearance, let's
sorry,
be honest.
Vic. You said people don't give a shit. It's the only thing that I saw people talking about on social media
Because
for
it's
a week.
amazing.
I
Absolutely.
was very
amazing.
excited.
No, not just you. Everyone.
on
It's
top of my
all the
drink.
entire fan base has talked about for the last week. I don't think you can say that people don't give a shit.
That's the bloody
They've got to
highlight
stop
of it.
going on
That's
about
why.
I think people are seeing the Leon Clark thing, though, aren't they? And thinking, oh, we used to slate Leon, and now all of a sudden we've got this who we've been slating for ages and might be good, so let's not slate him
I'm
anymore.
sorry, I'm going to blow my own trumpet on this one. As we mentioned whilst we were speaking to Bill,
Hey,
I've had enough of people blowing their own trumpets tonight. There's been
Victoria,
wanking, there's been tossing,
lady,
there's been blown
good
trumpets.
lord.
It's rude.
As we mentioned when we were speaking to Beastie,
I
I
know.
would have had Atinu on for the last 10 minutes of any football match, and that justified that decision absolutely, because he's an absolute superstar. No matter which way you look at it, he does that last 10 minutes incredibly well. He can't do much else, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't have him on for a full game, but last 10 minutes, he was amazing. Those players, those defenders were popping their pants when they saw Big Ol' Ratty on the pitch. It was just amazing. And anybody who disagrees is quite simply wrong.
How's the home brew, my lord?
It's lovely.
it's going down very well this evening,
The
I
loaded
think.
use is slipping down nicely.
Wait.
But no,
Well, I rest my case here about the fact that there's nothing that's happened other than Atty scoring that's worth us talking about.
Hey! Remember the shots of November? It's been wild.
Do you know what? I'm just about had enough. I'm just about fed up because it's not just been 3 games, has it? It's been, with the exception of Villa, since Bolton away, which was kind of the point where I kind of lost my shit a little bit. It's been absolutely bang average. We have been bang average all over the park. We haven't pushed on. We haven't improved. We haven't really done anything. It just feels like we're a club at the moment that is, in football terms, we're just there. We're just existing. We're barely doing anything. We're in a 6-game unbeaten streak. But honestly, does anyone genuinely think that we're in a good place right now?
do you think?
The only person who I think can come out and hold his head high is Mr. Bannon, isn't it? I think he's run ragged.
Yeah.
He's not done amazing, but then again, how are you meant to when the 10 men around you aren't doing a great job? But I do think out of everybody, he's got to take some credit.
It's all bluster and no cornflakes, though, Vic. It's painful to watch sometimes. He's got his little legs running around, and you think, well, hang on a bit, Barry. Why don't you actually play football instead of trying? There is something in business world called being.
Whoa.
There's something in business world called being a heroic manager. And have you ever heard this phrase in a job where you go, "I'll go and do it because if I don't do it, it won't get done right." Now, the reason that is detriment, it's a negative effect on your workforce, is because the people around you aren't learning. The people around you think, "Oh, it's okay," because
They're
they'll just do
20 or
it.
30-year-old blokes. They don't need to bloody learn. I'd learn for 30 grand a week. I'd bloody learn.
No, you wouldn't, because
No,
you're already getting paid
If
anyway.
you're doing it, he's got to run at it.
Yeah, but is that the problem though? Is that the problem, or is the alternative that we are going out with just crap game
Yes.
plans? And actually, the players are doing what they've been asked to do, but the game plans are just crap.
Are we any better off than we were 12 months ago right now? Or is it just a United effect?
I know
that's pissing people off?
points-wise,
That
we're
makes
the
it
same,
seem
aren't we?
worse.
Points-wise, we're similar to where we were last season before and whatever else. But actually, the football itself is dire. I can't remember it being this bad since... I don't want to say Mr. Bager's name, but it hasn't been that bad for a long time. But it is. It's like you said. It's the game plan. Like, you look, we're playing 2 very good wingers. Like, all right, Ross Wallace has been off the boil. I'll give you that. But Reach and Wallace are wingers, and every single match they're dropping into central midfield. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We get balls in from them coming from the wing. And in fact, we're relying on our fullback every single game. And our fullbacks, are fullbacks. They're there for the odd cross, don't get me wrong. And Jack Hunt, on his day, can put in a great cross. So can Morgan Fox, as we've seen. But actually, it's our wingers that we should be relying on for that. That's what they do.
I just think across the park, we're just average. We are defining average right now, and I thought Reading was a perfect example of it, because there wasn't anyone that played particularly badly at Reading, but there wasn't anyone that played brilliantly. Bannon was the best, our best player on the on the pitch. There's no doubt about that. He ran around a lot, and I'm sure Fudge will want to pick up on that. But I thought, defensively we were all right. I think midfield wise we were all right. The attack, I'm not really sure what the logic was in playing Fletcher and João together. It didn't particularly kind of spark anything. Hooper came on, we looked a bit better, but it was just we across the park we were just all right. But you're not going to win football games by being all right. If Reading were anything other than dreadful, and Reading really were a terrible, terrible team, then I think we'd have got done over on Saturday. And we can't go into games like this kind of idea of, if we go to Reading, as long as we don't concede, then we'll be all right. Then that really is taking us back kind of 3-4 years in time, isn't it? Just kind of going everywhere, and just concentrating on trying to get a 0-0 draw. Awful.
I was sat with two friends just before the match, and we were like waiting for the team sheet to come out. And when it came out, we were like, "What the hell is this?" It just looked like he'd lost the plot completely. It just didn't make any sense whatsoever.
It kind of felt like throwing shit against a wall, didn't it? That he'd kind of stuck with the same team for, which did go to Villa and get a result. Stuck with that, and it wasn't really working anymore. So he just kind of thought, well, let's try something different. And in a way, I kind of think fair play. Why not? It hadn't been right for the last couple of games, so why not try something different? But that wasn't right either, which kind of takes me down this path of thinking, does it really matter what players we're putting out there? Is the issue going a bit deeper than that at the moment? And is it just the matter of that we're just not preparing for games in the right
agree there.
way?
I think, yes, he did. As far as Carlos can say in his press conferences and whatever else, he has been told he needs to mix it up a bit, and so he did. He swapped, 6 players, I think. But you can swap whoever you like. You can put me in, but if you're still telling people to do the wrong thing, or to not play exciting football, or to pass it between Lees, Louvens and Chuffing Westwood, you're going to get the same result every week. And at the end of the day, that's what needs to change. I don't understand why this whole thing, I come back to it a few times, but when we say about the season that we got to Wembley, every single game was a goal of the month competition between the players, and it was almost as if there was a banter between them on that thing, who can get a better goal this week, who can do that. And don't get me wrong, we've had a couple of screamers from Adam Reach this year, but other than that, nobody seems dared to take a shot, or if they do, it's one in a game. So you see the odd Wallace miss, and yeah, he's had a couple that have been near misses, he's had a couple that have gone miles away, but actually if you look back 2 years ago, he would have 30 shots in a game, and one of those would go in. But actually, all he's doing now is having 2 or 3, and none of them are. It doesn't seem to make sense. I don't know where that's gone.
I think you might be remembering it with a little bit of rose-tinted spectacles there, Vic, because we have had very similar discussions at the first half of the season for the last 3 seasons. We have been notoriously slowing starting each season. To try and play devil's advocate, Carlos did mention at the end of the game that we put out, I'll do it in Carlos language, shall we? But we put out a team that was good and competent. Thanks, Carlos. Our plan was to try and block Reading's game in the first half, and in the second half try and win the match. So, we've seen this a million times before with Carlos. Is it getting a bit samey? Are we just essentially just not playing the first half and then trying to kick crap out people in the second? Sometimes we've seen it works. We know we're a team of 2 hours at the moment. Is it time to change things up?
Lord H, that entire comment from Carlos just made me vomit. It literally just made me vomit. What? Read it again. He set up what?
It says the quote on the BBC website says our plan was to try to block Reading's game in the first half, and in the second half try and win the match.
Okay, James, you were there with me, right? Reading's game is to stand there. Yeah. You've got your right back here. Yeah. He passes it to a 6'7" Lego brick, and then he passes it to a beanbag. And then he passes it back to the Lego brick. It drops into midfield a bit to the smallest man I've ever seen on a football pitch. Then it goes back to the Lego brick, back to the fullback, then back to the goalie, then back to... What had we set up to stop? I don't understand.
Are you sure you weren't watching us, Fudge? That's exactly what
do you know what? This was going to be my point, right, actually. I think that there is a Reading podcast somewhere, Royals Week, saying exactly the same. We are exactly the same team. We are, there is no difference between the two teams. Saturday was one of the worst painful experiences I've ever had at football. And when somebody says to me, what's the worst game you've ever been to? I've always said it was an Arsenal game on Boxing Day, and it was 0-0. And I remember it was about 25 years ago now, and I remember thinking, this is the worst day of my damn life. Like, I would have been 12 years old or 13 or something like that. But that is a very, very close second, because it was just awful. Now, on the flip side, I agree with you, James, that maybe he's just chucked enough shit at a wall to see what would stick. And that's what the starting 11 was. Let's try something. Let's try something else. Which great. I'm glad that he's noticed, albeit 6 games after we have, that whatever he's doing ain't working. Now, what I wanted to get to was kind of ask you guys an opinion. Did anybody read Dom Hassan's article on the Wednesday about a shake-up is needed? You know what I mean? About having a massive, clear out. Is there a sense of complacency within the squad? And we need to bring in some new faces. And we need to do it ASAP if we're going to have anything out of this season, which is essentially the crux of the story. And I think there's some credence to it, because let's be honest, we've signed Joost van Aken, Venancio, who we don't know where he is, and George Boyd, who's half blind and half missing. So, where do we go from there? What do we do? Is it because we've only bolstered with, let's say, squad players? That's why we've not had a resurgence. That's why we've not kicked on. What do you reckon?
It depends whether or not you think that the players are good enough, or whether you think the players aren't good enough, doesn't it? Because I think there's a squad there that should be good enough to compete, and there's clearly something wrong. And I'll be honest, when that quote from Carlos, and I genuinely adore Carlos to bits, and I think he's done some brilliant stuff. But it's the kind of quote that just makes me I just sit there and just go, for heaven's sake, man, just go. Just go. You've taken us as far as you can, and it's getting to the point now where it's becoming painful. It's just time. It's time for fresh ideas. We can't change the entire squad in January. It's a lovely idea, and in a lot of ways, it's probably right that it does need a bit of a shake-up, that keeping the same squad together sometimes can have a real positive effect, and sometimes maybe it becomes a bit stale and everyone becomes a bit too used to each other. But that happens in football, and every football club has that challenge at some point, and that's when you have to make some changes behind the scene to freshen things up and bring some new ideas in. And we, at the moment, I've watched 3 games of football now where I've thought, we don't have any ideas left. We just don't have any ideas. We have thrown together probably one decent move in those 3 games, which was the Adam Reach cross and the Atty header against Ipswich, and that's it. The other, the Hooper penalty was a penalty. There was nothing special about the move. It was a defensive error. He'd got no reason to handle that. Very silly. And beyond that, we have to go back to the Villa match to find anything that's really worth us talking about. We've just run out of ideas, and I can't see where they're going to come from.
The penalty itself, if that young chap hadn't have handballed that ball, then Fletcher was behind him already in full stride for a belting volley on there for us. So I can understand why he did.
He'd have missed it though, wouldn't he? Because that's what happens.
That's by the by. It would have been a lovely goal or at least a lovely shot, possibly on target, possibly not. Had he had the opportunity to hit the jumping thing, but the young lad handballed the ball. I thought there was some, again, sort of flitting in and out between the Reading and the Ipswich games. I thought some cracking moves against Ipswich. So again, there was a brilliant one with Bannon, where had Fletch been another sort of half a yard quicker, it would have been a beautiful, beautiful goal again. Reach made a lovely couple of runs down the wing as well, especially towards the end. Of course, again, you mispronounced his name, James. The saviour of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, Atinu, who did his job when he came on. But talking about Carlos as well, when you're looking towards the Ipswich game, I mean, we were getting really stubbed down in that game. And then Carlos made the change where he brought Fletcher and Kieran Leon within sort of 2 minutes of each other. And I think that did change the game. Yeah, he might have got his tactics wrong at the beginning, but when he made that change, I did think it changed the game, sort of 60 minutes in as well. So
yeah, all right, fair enough, yeah.
We do have to sort of try and look at some of the positives. I understand why everybody's frustrated, and don't get me wrong. I mean, during the Ipswich game, I was listening to it, and I actually fell asleep. I was that jumping bored and I don't fall asleep during football matches, and it was rather embarrassing. So I understand what you're saying, but coming back to Fudge's point, we can't change the squad. We don't have the financial capacity with FTTP now to just bugger about as much as we used to do with that kind of thing. It's a lovely idea, as you say, Jay.
I don't think we need to change the squad, though. I don't think we need to change the squad. It's not the squad.
What would you do?
Not the
I
squad.
think, can I ask you all something, genuinely, right? So Carlos, at the moment, nobody on here can say they're a huge fan. Let's be honest, huge fan. But if we came out at the next game, right, and on Saturday, and we went for it, right? We proper went for it. Everyone had a shot. We would just attack. There was, as if Louvens and Lees just weren't there passing it to each other for 85 minutes. So if we went for it, but we lost 2-0, would you not be happier with a game like that and building forwards rather than sitting back and watching a 1 point drip in every so often? We've got a 0-0 draw, but we kept a clean sheet. Brilliant. Hutch kept a clean sheet. I don't care. Would you... No, but would you not rather see a bit of action and a bit of people wanting to score, and that not them wanting to score? Because I agree with James. I don't think it comes from the squad. I think it's coming from the background sort of tactics. But if we went out there and just full on attacked Hull, we owe them big time, because they did us over at Wembley, and which again was an awful game of football, whichever side you watched it from, neutral, either side. But if we went out and we proper went for it and we stuck in every chance we could, we crossed every ball we could, we just ran at them, would you not be happier with taking that than just watching the dross that we're watching every single week, which is just tippy-tappy, to quote, was it Megson, tippy-tappy? But we're just doing that every single week, and I just think at some point all right, he made 6 changes, it didn't work. Let's be honest, it did not work. So why not just make a change and make your tactics just everyone run forwards, everyone try and score a goal?
Maybe he will, because we have kind of 2 or 3 games a season, don't we, where we do that and we go for it. And I think, we'd all come away and think, oh, brilliant, that's great. It's like the Norwich game last season, or Leeds. We've had games this season where, we've really gone for it, and that's brilliant. But even I'd walk away from if we played Hull off the park and we threw everything at them, and I'd walk away going, that was brilliant, but we'll be back to playing 0-0 tactics against Norwich on Saturday, won't we?
I know. I don't know what else he can do, because it's not going right. So he's changed the squad around. He's changed over half of the squad technically. So what else can he do apart from actually go for a game? Just go out there and try and win a game of football. That's what we want. We don't want to walk away with a point every week. Yeah, if we're playing Man United, we'd probably be quite happy with a point. But actually, we'd only be happy with that point if we'd worked for it and we'd actually grafted and tried to score a goal. As it stands, we don't look bothered.
No, you're right. You're right. But this is a really weird position to be in, because I've kind of given up with the whole Carlos out thing. I've really toyed with myself. That sounds odd. I've really fought with myself about the ramifications of it and stuff like that. And I think James somebody took the best when he was a clever man. He's an educated fella, knows what he's talking about. When he said, "Have you got that on your soundboard, James?" Yeah, play it for me now.
I can play it for you if you want it. Yeah.
James does the Wednesday week podcast. You know, he's a clever guy. He knows the team inside out.
I think what you'd said on that was the phrase "a change is needed," and I don't think it's necessarily Carlos out. I don't think it's just sack the board. I don't think it's what's Chansiri done for this bloody club or whatever. A change is needed. Now, the chairman has come out and publicly backed him. Now, this isn't a chairman new to football, where a public backing is worth its weight in gold. Not like the ones that we've seen over the last 10, 15 years, where a public backing meant you were getting sacked in the next couple of weeks. But I've kind of given up with Carlos out and the whole thing, because it ain't going to happen. So, all right, this is what we've got in our arsenal. This is what we're going to do. What do we think as pundits, as people proffering their opinion on a show like this? What do we think we need to do? Now, I'm happy with what Vic says. I want to go out and I want to play football, and I want big, exciting football. Christ, we discussed it in length the entire season last year. But, God, there has to be something better than this. Now, I feel that the lineup change on Saturday was just an absolute roll of the dice, just to make it look like, hey, I tell you what, I'm trying something, love. You know what I mean? That's my Portuguese accent. It's good, isn't it? Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Horrible. I tell you what, I'm trying something. Love.
Portuguese Peniston.
Tell you what, the 99, love. I've gone Italian. Any road. Yeah. It was just him going, look, I'm trying. That was it. Look, I'm trying. I don't believe that Tom Lees was injured. I think that's nonsense. I think it's because he played pish and he dropped him, and I don't think he's injured at all. Juice Van Aken did okay. You know what I mean? Kieran Lee is still one of the greatest footballers ever to pull on a Sheffield Wednesday shirt. I feel for Jordan Rhodes, man. I just want him to do so well. And I think the only opportunity we really had in that entire Reading game was when he just headed one wide. I don't know if you remember. But, you know, James and I spent the game talking about this man that had fallen down the chairs. Like, it was just painful to watch.
Oh, it was hilarious, though.
That really made me laugh when you were talking about that.
It was brilliant.
Radio Sheffield for about 5 minutes talked about how John Pearson had fallen over on his drive that morning. It was like, oh my God, is there nothing happening? What's going on? And let's cross to Oakwell.
See, I'm quite jealous of you. I'm jealous of you guys at home being able to listen to the story of John Pearson falling over on his drive. Literally all me and Fudge had got was this bloke who managed to fall down two sets of seats.
Couple. It was brilliant.
Very graceful.
Although I did have a guy in the urinal.
No one else found it funny.
Who was so pissed. I mean, absolutely off his bonds. I'm surprised they let him in, but it was looked like what was his kid holding him up. And he had his face up against the bit of wall behind the urinal, which in itself is bouffing. Do you know what I mean? I mean, can you remember back in the day in Club WoW in the late 90s, there used to be some handles and some cushions above the urinals. Do you remember? In Club WoW. And people used to put their head against them. Now, you know, urine is essentially a warm liquid. And when warm liquids get warm, they evaporate. So what you're putting your head on there is evaporated piss. And this geezer's just got his head up against the wall. And he went, blimey, look at this, there's some big willies in here, isn't there? Brilliant. You know. And, of course, I end up, you know, it's like that old Jasper Carrot thing about the nutter always sitting next to you on the bus. It was like that. I always end up getting, you know, pissing next to these type of people. I was happy for the compliment, if I'm honest. I liked my day. What are we talking about?
Did he have his reading glasses on?
I know he had a little magnifying glass. I thought he was killing ants as well. Like, you know what I mean?
Right, so we'll put the last few games to bed, and we'll hope, for hope's sake, that eventually this will turn around. But again, we are. Yeah,
but ironically, Lord H, the last few games put us to bed. So I see what you've done there.
Unbeaten.
That's a lovely segue.
We are still unbeaten, so no matter which way you change it, we're not losing points.
Oh, God.
Glass half full, albeit.
I really want to slap people when they say that. I really would be. Oh yes, but we're so many games unbeaten. Yeah, but it's absolutely rubbish, and we're going nowhere. Nowhere.
Would you rather?
I'd probably rather have won one and lost two, to be honest, because at least one of them would have been a lot more interesting than the two. and you can't get away from this, Lord H. And I know you're trying to look at it, glass half full. And normally when you've had a kind of a string of games when you've drawn, then you can get excited about the fact that you think, oh, we were just that little thing away from turning it into a win. But 5 shots on target in a month, there's very little positive to put on that. And 2 of them were goals against Villa.
Isn't it just 5 shots in general,
target.
not on target?
Yeah.
I thought it was just 5 shots in general.
Yeah.
Is it on target?
One day,
it felt
James,
that bad.
you'll be able to say that I was there when the saviour of Sheffield Wednesday, Atinuhu, scored that goal that got us into the playoffs. So you just think yourself lucky, Opie.
Tell you what, when that happens, you can slap me. We'll do a deal. In the meantime, I'm slapping you. I'm slapping you every time you mention that we're on an unbeaten run, because it means feck all at the moment.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding or anniversary, maybe you've passed your driving test, or you've landed a new job. Well, whatever your reason for a party, the Riverside Cafe is the perfect location on Catch Bar Lane overlooking Hillsborough Stadium. To inquire about hiring us for your function, call 07989 856 054 or 0114 232 6121.
Right then, ladies and gents, so let's move on to the scant bit of Wednesday news we have. There's a little bit of Wednesday news this week. Hooray! Finally. First things first, the shirts, the discount on those shirts shall be running now until the end of December. Thank you, Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, because they have been selling so well that certain sizes of the shirt have run out. So obviously those people that wanted those particular shirts weren't able to get the discounts.
Obviously, those people who are of a normal size.
Isn't that the cycling
buy
shirt?
like a small, which is literally wouldn't fit my dog.
I bought one and I've had to buy 2XL, and I've lost weight recently. So
You have lost weight.
Thanks very much, Vic. Up yours. There we go. Look at age.
A great rule of thumb is: have you ever brought anything from Superdry?
Yes, yeah, it's the Japanese style.
Are you asking Rich Davies that question seriously?
What are you saying? You have not seen me in Superdry for ages.
Never. It's not like you wear one all the time.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ever bought anything from Superdry, 2 sizes up, don't you? That's what you do.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Like a wedding dress for
I've not bought one either.
It is the thing with football shirts as well now, isn't it? Though, because they don't work in the way that normal. They're meant to be skin tight, which is great if you've got a footballer's body. The rest of us screwed. We've got no chance. So you know that you've got to go like at least a size bigger. And this has been talked about for like a month and a half now. I'm surprised that people are still surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like a size or 2 sizes bigger so I can wear it over a hoodie. But like literally, I would need a tent in this new shirt, an actual tent.
Good.
And I know
have a word with
I'm a
us.
curvaceous, shall we say, lady. But I mean, come on.
Just go and ask
would have
Ozzy
thought-
where he gets his from. He gets a big size, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm on Slimming World now.
I didn't mean that.
You would have thought the club had said themselves. The club would have said to themselves, "Oh, this bloody Aslan just did it in December anyway." But anyway,
Well, they have done. So this
am I?
is something that
Who am
needs
I?
to be praised because it is nice of them to do it. I know, obviously, it's a tenner, and I mean,
I know, believe it or not, it's only £50 if you buy it by December. That is bargain. Absolute bargain for a shirt that literally goes out of fashion in May. Bargain. 5 months of one shirt that's £10 a month. It's less than a phone contract.
God, you're a miserable bunch tonight. You a lot. Chuff me.
What have we got to be happy about?
I think the shirt thing's great, and as soon as the mysterious third shirt appears, I might actually consider buying it because I think it's very nice.
Can we have the away shirt first?
No, I can promise you, no one will buy the away shirt due to the fact that it is the single most disgusting shirt that's ever been produced with a Sheffield Wednesday badge on it. It's absolutely hideous. No one will buy it. No one will buy it. No one.
I should be buying one because That is the shirt that the saviour of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club at in Newheath.
Well, it was, but let's be fair, he was barely wearing it, was he? He'd got like his vest sticking out of one side of it.
Yeah, I must admit, I saw a really nice tweet with that, with someone saying at least the shirt sizes are affecting the players.
I tell you what, when he was running towards the crowd to celebrate, he was running towards the camera, and it looked like he got a hemorrhoid cushion stuck up the front of his jumper. You know.
I mean, even Barry Ballin's in a 5XL. Come on.
I think it was James Allen from the Al's Americas podcast that mentioned that. Is it if you look at the sleeves, the sort of stop at his forearm, really. So is it a 3/4 length sleeve he's got on, or is it I don't understand the sleeves on it. It doesn't make any sense. It can't be a short sleeve shirt.
He's a fashionable guy.
There is no roll up on the sleeve.
If he's got a long sleeve shirt, he could have just rolled it up, couldn't he?
He's washed the sleeves. He's not washed the rest of it. He's washed the sleeves and they've shrunk a bit.
Just a sponge wash in the sink, like your grandma used to do.
He had an ice cream before the game, dribbled it a bit down the sleeve, so he thought, I better wash it, and that one's shrunk. So he thought, I'll have to wash the other one now to make them look the same, and so they both shrunk. It happens sometimes with modern fabrics, you know.
On that note, I'd just like to point out that one day before the game, I put my arm of my TWW cast hoodie in bird poo on the back of a chair. I went home and I washed the sleeve and mine didn't shrink. So if you want to buy any of our clothing, it's tww.tmill, which is TEEmill.co.uk.
Well done, Vic. Always thinking. My corporate lady.
Sale.
The other thing there, James, is it is good news because the club have also announced that when the next delivery comes in and the away shirts and the wonderful third kit is released, that will also be discounted for the first 6 weeks as well. There, Jay. So
in 2019.
Yeah. For when England next hosts the World Cup, for Christ's sake.
Oh, you miserable guess. You'll be able to save yourself a tenner, Jay, and buy yourself some wonderful more.
You're scraping the positive barrel. Big time, aren't you? You really are.
Positive
spin.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say, for a positive spin, the other clothing in the club shop at the moment, aside from the kits, is absolutely superb. Like, if you want a nice shirt or a nice hoodie, like kind of retro styles as well, we've got some cracking stuff. So we need to get on to the people who created those and get them to make next year. Because it's, honestly, you can go in and buy a really, really nice. My mum's got a gorgeous, like, button-down, like, polo shirt. It's about 25 quid. It's absolutely stunning. So go and buy them instead.
I could add another positive to that as well, because this week I bought, there is a website that we did a competition with who sell like football bobble hats and stuff like that. And they've brought out a Wednesday bobble hat, which is really, really nice. And it arrived yesterday and it's lovely. And just for the record, I did pay for it. It wasn't a freebie or anything like that. So I'm not giving them, I'm not free plugs. I am quite into my beanie hats and my bobble hats, and it is very, very good. So, that's a positive in the kind of Wednesday sphere at the moment.
In terms of hats, actually, while we're talking about hats, because we've got no else to talk about, I'd like to say thank you to Ash Rogers, who brought me a bobble to Reading. So for my Sunday League team, we've decided to go down the route of making a load of old tat. And I bought a beanie hat, but I'm a fan of a bobble. So what Ash did, I put this on Twitter, and Ash brought me a bobble to Reading.
Did he make it himself, like you're doing Girl Guides, of 2 pieces of cardboard cut in a circle and then trim around the edge?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I've got
amazing.
a bobble. Isn't it?
That's also how next year's shirt is going to be made as well. But yes, I thought it was a little bit of positive news, even though that's been dashed by you miserable chuffers. But the club have, obviously, for those who are buying maybe shirts for their children for Christmas, and if you've got 3 kids and you're saving 30 quid, then absolutely spot on news for those parents on there. So jolly well done, Sheffield Wednesday Football Club.
Hold on a minute, you're saving 30 quid, but you're spending £150.
Oh, shut up, you miserable sod, for goodness sake. When you've got 3 kids that you're buying Christmas presents for, that 30 quid will come in handy, Victoria, my darling. Trust me, sweet back. Right, so let's crack on. There has been a little bit of scouting Wednesday news as well. Apparently, the Wednesday Scouts have been to Benfica, to the Estadio de Luz, 5 times this season. So, obviously, you mentioned sort of shaking things up a bit, Fudgy. Do you think that the Scouts are still out there? They're still looking. In January, is there any particular positions that you would like to see specifically that we're going to strengthen?
Yes, centre-back. I think we need a centre-back. I think we need to get rid of a couple of strikers and bring another one in order to push for competition. And because I think, that's what we're missing a little bit. I think we need another full-back. And I tell you what, actually, I promised James I'd mention this tonight. Liam Palmer played okay on Saturday. I have to give him credit where it's due. He wasn't the usual tripe that he usually is. He actually played okay. And then somebody today tweeted like, Liam Palmer should be starting every week. Now, all of a sudden, one above average performance, and all of a sudden he's an ex-Roland Nilsson. But come on, man. I promised I'd say that. But yes, I think we need another centre-back because there's something wrong with Leeds and Leuven's. It's not the partnership it was last season. When you look at games like Newcastle away on Boxing Day last year, those 2 players aren't the same as what they were, 12 months ago. And I think we need a new right winger. We tried to get one in George Boyd, and I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's done. Is he gone fully blind now? I don't know. But we could do with a right winger. That's where I think we could do with strengthening Lord Hillsborough.
Fantastic. Anybody else think specifically that there's any particular point we need strength? Because Fudge essentially thinks everywhere, more or less. Am I right, Fudge? Are you happy with the centre of midfield, Fudge?
It's got Kieran Lee in it, so I'm very happy with the centre of midfield. Anything with Kieran Lee in it is fine by me.
So you will be buying this year's kits as well, then. Yeah. Anybody else specifically want to strengthen anything in particular?
I'd probably
manager.
That's a good call. I'd probably echo that. I think our strategy for central defenders has just not really worked, has it, this season? I think the idea of bringing in a couple of maybe younger players who maybe don't know the league as well to act as backup when the players that we're playing as first choice are not playing very well and quite injury prone it's kind of bit us on the arse a bit. So I'd like to see us bring in at least one fairly experienced centre half who can play alongside Lees, so that Lees doesn't have this kind of fit that he has whenever Glenn Leuven's is not there. And just a bit of creativity somewhere. That's what's lacking at the moment. And like I said earlier, I don't know whether it's that we haven't got the players that have got the creativity at the moment, or whether they're just not expressing it properly or what. I don't know. But it's, as I said, the last few games, it just looked like we haven't got any ideas. So someone that can come up with those ideas. And, obviously we've got Forestier, haven't we, to come back, and hopefully that'll make a difference.
Just putting it out there, would you like to see maybe something from our youth setup? I'm not talking about the obvious, but maybe a Jack Stobbs sort of step up and see if that a young lad, maybe. I mean, obviously he's clearly a professional footballer. He's been obviously in that youth team for a long, long time. It's probably about 5 years he's been down there now. Would you like to see a young lad step up and see if he can shake it up?
Like a modern day Luke Bowden, isn't he? No, do you know what? I don't see the need to get any. Apart from, I agree, maybe another centre half. I agree with that. But we've brought Juiced in, who looked okay at first. He did, but when he's alongside Tom Lees, don't trust him. We've got that other kid that I don't even know his name, Valencia, something like that. He's Varencio Go. He's not even appeared.
I think he's pronounced God.
Sort of. But he hasn't even appeared, has he? So we don't know what we've got there. We don't know. But actually, this squad is bloody good. Like, it's the same squad pretty much that got us to Wembley before, but with improvements. So actually, I come back to James's point earlier. I don't think it's really a team problem. I really, really don't.
So are you telling Fudge basically to shut the chuff up? Stop talking nasty.
Always, yeah.
Well, enjoy mid-table mediocrity, kids.
To answer that question about the youth players and stuff, I mean, Stobbs is a weird one, isn't it? Because he nearly broke through years ago, and then he's kind of been building his way back up through the youth setup. And is he the guy that's been on loan at Port Vale and not got a look in for them at the bottom end of League Two? And we're talking about whether or not we should be playing him in the Championship. Really?
Just really throwing some names out there because I would love to see a sort of well, what's a better term, a Wayne Rooney figure, a Michael Owen figure come through and muck this chuff up. But we've got an obvious one. I'm trying to stay away from that subject at the moment or two. That could fill up a whole podcast on its own, that particular subject, especially with the bits and bobs that came out with Mr. Biggs's television program, which of course James has been on as well, of course, has been on chuffing everything. I think we are missing, as James said, I think we're missing Forestieri. Because, let's face it, when Fessy gets on the field, he don't give a chuff what Carlos has told him. He's going to be Fessy, isn't he? And maybe the players are listening a little bit too close. I heard a wonderful sort of phrase, actually, from Freddie Flintoff this week. I was listening to his and What's-His-Face's podcast. And Freddie said that there's too much science in sports these days. Sport is an art, not a science. And that's what I think that we're missing. We're missing the art of football. And there's too much emphasis on the science of it at the minute. And I want to see some passion and I want to see some arts behind our football again. And the only person that's really giving that at the minute is Bannon. I think Bannon's really trying to do that.
Yeah, 100%. But I think if we all look at our day jobs, right? So Lord H, we won't out you here. But Fudge, if your boss told you, do you know what? Close the bar or restaurant at 9 o'clock, no one's going to come in. James, if your boss told you, do you know what, just tune out, just turn the radio off at 6, no one's going to listen. If my boss told me to spell a word wrong, we wouldn't do it. That's the thing, that's what I don't understand. It's like, they know it's not working, they know it's not, and you can see the frustration on the faces. And like you said, Fessy doesn't play by the rules, he doesn't colour between the lines and all that. He just goes for it, and I think at some point there needs to be some sort of, not a revolt, but almost like a, do you know what? I'm just going to run with this. Let's go. Not in a Tom Lee style, because that is dreadful. But just somebody who's going to run and just go for it, no matter what they've been told.
But then if a footballer does do that, they're not going to get picked for the next game, are they? Because if they're not doing as they're told, the manager won't want them on the pitch. That's the problem. And maybe the players do need to be let off the leash, because we've seen what happens. I mean, obviously, when the players are relaxed, and we've seen against Leeds, we've seen against Villa, when things are going beautifully, the football is amazing because they do it without thinking about it, and it's beautiful to watch. But sometimes the over tactical bit can get in the way, and it's something that does mind in a lot about sort of modern day football, if you like. If you look back at the football from the 70s, the 80s, even into the 90s, there wasn't as much science in football back then. The players were probably hungover coming onto the pitch, and they just loved playing football. And I think a lot of that love of the football game now is sort of kicked out. When we spoke with Mr. Peacock, and he said sometimes he fell out of love with the game. You wouldn't get a lot of footballers falling out of love with the game in the generation before him, because they weren't just lumped on with all this instruction, or not as much instruction. There was a flair to a football player, and we're missing that flair. And I think Fessy, fingers crossed, is going to be the chap that sorts that out for us. So, as Victoria mentioned earlier, we've got the whole match coming up, and we chuffing all these people won, don't we? This is one thing that having a cohesed squad for the last few seasons will certainly remember. Do you think the players are going to want to get at Hull and give them a tonking for what happened a few seasons ago, boys and girls?
It is the absolute right time to be playing them, because I mean, I wouldn't say quite dire straits, but they're not far off, are they, at the moment? Nothing's really been going right for them this season. Their manager himself's kind of said that he thinks he should probably get sacked or something along those sort of lines. It all seems to be going a little bit Hull. So I mean, it is absolutely crying out for the kind of game that we've been talking about, isn't it? Where we just go for it. Their heads are going to be down a bit. it's certainly not a bad squad, and they very similar to us are underachieving big style. But if we hit them hard, then they are not going to know what to do. They're not going to know what's hit them, and I think we will. I want to say we'll probably learn a bit more about Carlos on Saturday, but I think we've probably learned as much as there is to learn. I don't know, but maybe we'll just have that gumption to just kick on and go for it, and know that it's a game whereby we really can win this game, and we've got to win this game, haven't we? I mean, it's a given.
Do you think Carlos will want to get one over on Hull, or do you think he's more concerned about maybe one day getting one over on Mr. Brucey?
I don't know. I'm not sure he gives a toss, does he?
Your football tank is well and truly empty, isn't it?
It's not. I'm just. I think, is it just a bit of disillusionment? I don't know. Is it just that the I don't know. The last couple of games have just drilled it out of me a bit. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's feeling the same. I don't. I'm not seeing much that's getting Carlos that fired up at the moment, because if it was, then I would think that he'd be saying different things to what he is saying. He seems to be relatively content with a lot of how we're playing and a lot of the performances that we're putting in. And I can't see that he's going to be on Saturday screaming, shouting and stuff at the players. And I don't think he does that anyway. But I can't see him trying to get them really fired up because it's Hull. I don't know. He just doesn't. He don't come across like that kind of manager.
Is there an argument to be made, again, playing devil's advocate at this point, is there an argument to be made that Carlos, because he does think a lot about the science and the speed of football and all that kind of thing, that he could possibly maybe be holding the team back slightly? Because we've seen it for the last 2 seasons that we really sort of hit fifth gear towards the end of the season, and then we sort of hit the playoffs. I know it's not worked, but we hit the playoffs on a run, if you like, and try and take that good feeling into the playoffs on there for us. Again, just putting it out there, do you think that's a possibility?
Well, how?
Well, he wants to hit that fifth gear soon, doesn't he? There'll be nobody to watch and reach the bloody playoffs.
The flip side of that argument is that if you hit that fifth gear in, let's say, October, then you can win automatic promotion, and that was always the target this season. And no one's tried to hide that. I think the chairman himself said that the target's automatic promotion. Carlos has said the target's automatic promotion. We ain't going to get it, are we, if we're going to wait until January before we start actually playing football?
Have you absolutely ruled that out now then, Jay?
Automatic? Well, no. I mean, whenever it's mathematically possible, that's great. But, we're coming off the back of 3 games where we've had 3 shots on target. There isn't a chance in the world, the way that we're playing football right now, we are in with even a sniff of automatic promotion. We are nothing other than absolutely mediocre right now. And, unless something drastic changes, and that that doesn't have to be. I'm not saying it has to be. Carlos has got to go, but he's got to sit down and go, right. Okay, tell you what, this way we play football at the moment, rip it up, forget it, and let's go with something else. Then I can't. Can anyone genuinely? And I'd be amazed if anyone can. Can anyone see us getting top 2 as things stand right now, even with a sniff of top 2 as things stand right now?
No.
No.
Didn't happen.
Not in a million years.
I wouldn't say not in a million years, but even with my blue and white tinted spectacles, half
I would.
glass full, if you don't think we're going to get promoted out of the Premiership in the next million years, Rich, there's something wrong.
Tell you what, if we get promoted out of the Premiership, I'll be laughing.
Exactly. It's going to be amazing. Because in the next million years, they'll probably be a league above that as well. But yes, it's difficult to see. Clearly, there's one tactic that Carlos has tried that's worked, which is by playing the saviour of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, Atinu, for the last 10 minutes, which he didn't do, obviously, against Reading. And I'm very disappointed that you've not taken on the mantra of giving him his full title as well. I must insist that is how we now pronounce the saviour of Sheffield Wednesday, Atinu, whose name from now on the podcast.
Can I let you in on a secret at this point? This is I'm working on. It's not my forte, because Lord H is definitely your forte, and I will at some point pass this project on to you, because you will do it more justice than me. I am working on how can I describe it? It's a reworking of a Christmas song with a slight Atty New Hugh slant to it.
Oh my god, that's
which
like my
will
dream.
involve us having to make a music video, which will involve us having to wear big fluffy white coats and lots of fake snow.
Oh, this is just because you've got a new coat. That's all it is. You want to show off your new coat.
I haven't got a new coat.
I'll just wear a super dry one, Vic.
You've got your furry hood thing, and you're really proud of it. And you just want to show it off. Oh no, it's not new. You said it's not new. You've just not worn it to the game for a while. But still, you can't just use this to show off your wardrobe.
Well, you're not getting on the video then. You can bollocks, woman, lady. Bollocks to you, lady. Bollocks to you.
I can't even find the fur bit off my hood anyway.
Well, just as well, because you won't need it, because you're not coming.
Or you can borrow your dad's coat.
Yeah, my dad has got a Carlos coat, actually. That's a good point.
Well, luckily, I don't know if you chaps have noticed, but I mean, I'm not a massive Facebook user. I've just popped a little picture into the Facebook thing. There is now a Sheffield Wednesday Christmas hat, whatever the kids call them these days. What is it they call them when you put your face on a picture?
Lord. That is
absolutely.
That's stunning.
It's
I
a
love
little
the
white Santa
empty
hat,
bottle of mead behind you as well. That adds to it.
Christmas mead, it's on its way. Yes, so if you are a wonderful Sheffield Wednesday fan, and James, if we are doing a music video, can the listeners get involved and send their Facebook filter, that's the word I'm looking for, filters with their blue and white Christmas hats on to be involved in that video?
I think we should just invite them all to. Do you know what like Radio Sheffield did when they did that Common People thing? I think we should just do that. We should just pick a location, just say to people, just turn up, just wear something a bit fluffy, just turn up and let's make a music video and just get shit-faced. Let's do it on a match day. It's off the back of Saturday in Reading. I can guarantee you, they're just getting shit-faced. It's way more enjoyable than watching the football.
Has anybody else got anything else to say about Hull? I know it's not the greatest place to say things about, but has anybody else got anything
with
else?
a crap strip bar.
It's got sharks and shit.
Got an even crapper ice rink where I went to see Morrissey once. God, that was a night.
Was he skating?
Was this
That's a pretty impressive answer. If it was like Morrissey
can you imagine the advert for that? Morrissey,
it would have been more impressive.
Stuffed up his ass.
It would have. Gladiola, come on.
To be honest, even Morrissey would be more positive about Sheffield Wednesday Football Club than you guys are at the moment.
Has anyone ever been to Hull Fair?
Stop limping.
Because it's quite an experience. I've been once. And the only other interesting thing I can think of about Hull is that my old sat-nav used to pronounce it a little bit funny, and it sounded like hell. So it would always say, "You are 20 miles from hell." So it's kind of made me chuckle whenever I had to go to Hull, which I do. We have a radio station in Hull, so I do have to go there quite a bit. It's not as funny now. I've got a new sat-nav.
Good chat. In my head, I've got that song now. You know, are you going to Scarborough Fair? But with Hull instead. That's what I've got going on right now.
Are you going to Hull?
Morrissey sings it on his ice
daffodils
skate with a bunch of gladioli.
And if you have any memories of Hull, ladies and gents, please do send them on the Twitter feed. And
don't send them. I don't want to hear any more. It's a horrible place.
Right then, ladies and gents, do you guys have any bits before we start to wrap up this evening's proceedings?
I have a little bit. You'll be surprised to hear, obviously. So there's a man on the Twitter, at @O_SWFC, right? And if you go on his profile, it's his pinned tweet. And he did this last year, and it was hilarious. But this year, it's even funnier because it's not even like halfway through the season. But he does the banter thread from Sheffield Wednesday, and honestly, if you read it, you'll get it. It is so funny. It just goes through every high, every low, mainly lows, including pretty much. It's just like tonight's conversation, to be honest, but with a few images thrown in. So have a look at that. O_SWFC.
Fantastic. Did one of you guys see the tweet from the young chap that did the? I've got that other song.
The Coldplay.
Yes, the Coldplay. Absolutely. Does anybody have that chap's name? Because I would very much
yes,
like to give him a shout.
It's Chris Bridden, who Fudge has a kind of an on-off love-hate affair with.
It's actually quite funny. He's done well there with that as well.
So if you haven't seen it, he does a wonderful thread. Do pop up there and have a little look. And for each line of the song, there is also a wonderful picture that goes with it for Sheffield Wednesday Football Club as well. So jolly well done, that chap. It had me in stitches, that thread. And we did get sent that by a few people over there on Twitter as well. So do thank you for everybody that popped that to us. Jay, sorry, I have some more bits. I've interrupted your bits, Jay. Not for the first
sorry.
time.
Only a couple of amusing tweets from the last week. First of all, I mentioned to Matt with 1T _ Hamilton, who tweeted when Ati New came on against Ipswich, saying, "I will get a New tattoo anywhere on my body if he scores an equaliser for us tonight." And his has subsequently tweeted to say that when he turns 18, so I'm not sure how old he is, but when he turns 18, he will do indeed get the tattoo and post it on Twitter. So that's one to keep an eye out for.
My favourite bit of that, James, if you click on the tweet and look at the replies, there's somebody who obviously went to like Magaluf or Malia this year who says, "Do it, mate, you won't regret it." And there's a photo of his bum and he's got New tattooed on his bum.
And then the only other thing that I wanted to mention, which again comes from Twitter, which is a guy called Matt Dent. His Twitter username is, so the other Matt was Matt with 1T. This is Matt with 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's 5 T's. I'm guessing Matt with 4 T's, 3 T's, and 2 T's was already taken. So Matt with like 5 T's, Dent, and he's trying to raise some money for his son. They're both big Wednesday fans. His son has some kind of learning difficulties, and so he set up a Just Giving page. So if you want to find him out on Twitter, find out a bit more about that. It's been one of those weeks, hasn't it, where the Wednesday fan base has been kind of at itself a little bit. So I thought, something that kind of represents the old "we're all Wednesday, aren't we" thing, something that's a slightly happier thing that we can all kind of get behind, one of our own. I thought was probably a nice way to end proceedings.
Absolutely.
I've got a bit of something that we can finish on. We had
he said proceedings.
Yeah, proceedings are finishing. My apologies. But just two things. Did anybody see that we've made Dave Ponchansiri unhappy at our critique as a collective, as Sheffield Wednesday fans? We've made him unhappy of our critique of his Club 1867 initiative. So, sorry, Dapon, we didn't fancy spending $2,000 on something that doesn't look like it's going to happen. If the, like James always says, if the results on the pitch are going the way, we'll probably subscribe to your nonsense pitch. But anyway, what I wanted to get to was last year, earlier this year, I took part in the Reds versus Blues fundraising game to raise some money for the Stannington branch of the Royal Legion. And I was lucky enough to win a prize because of the donations that you guys gave us. So if you keep an eye on the coming week of what on our Twitter, on our show, we're going to be announcing that we're going to be giving away a prize that I won for raising the most amount of money on the blue team, which is a signed Sheffield Wednesday shirt from the squad for this season. So we've actually got a shirt itself, one of the sought-after shirts that nobody could get up. Yeah.
What size is it?
She don't know. She's just sending it me to give her to give you the phrase that I got this afternoon. But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to raise that money had it not been for you lot. So we're going to be doing a competition to give that away, signed shirt for this season. So stay tuned for that, kids. It's going to be a smasher.
How lovely is Fudge? He's won a wonderful
Fudge, just to say, like, yeah, exactly. Like, hats off to you. Like, you won that shirt fair and square. You'd raised a lot of money there. And, and you weren't expecting that. Oh, your face, we've got the video, if we can find the video again. Your face was adorable when you won it, and you won, like, a couple of tickets to get in a signed shirt. And that is so sweet to give it away. Like, thank you.
I wouldn't have won it had it not been for you lot out there. I was getting donations from Martin Atkinson out in bloody Russia and Kazakhstan, wherever he is, and stuff like this. It was immense, the response I got, and it was quite overwhelming in a way. And it made me feel that this nonsense heap of shite show that we do. Sorry, I'm being overly critical there. This thing we've been doing for so long, and we're doing it for so many years, for it to pay off and help somebody else was actually quite humbling. And I said to I said to Daz, who ran the event, when I saw those old boys on the pitch just before we were about to start playing, it really hit me. Like, I'm not a charity type of person. I'm not very good at most things that tap into that side of your psyche, because I like fags and beer. Do you know what I mean? But to see those men on that field before that game, actually, and I don't know, there was something that ignited something inside me that I'd not really addressed that side of me before, and I thought this is actually a big deal, and I'm glad I could help. But I want to be able to do that without the people out there. So I want to give it away because I feel like it's the right thing to do.
I think it's great that you got a donation from Moscow. Did you get any from Gaza?
No, I got one from Gaza. He donated a fishing rod that he weren't using anymore.
Some fried chicken.
Fudge, in all seriousness, can I enter the competition? Because it could save me 50 quid.
It depends what size it is. You never know, do you? Like, you know what I mean?
True. It might work as a sock.
Right, so James, if people want to get over there on the Twitter inch, where can we do that, Toby?
At James Marriott.
Fantastic. Victoria, my darling, if people want to get hold of you over there on Twitter inch, where can we do that?
At Victoria1867.
Richie, you sexy mother chuffer, where can people find your Twitter handle, Shelby?
You can find me at Dickie Owl, and hopefully I'll be saying more on there than I have on here tonight.
Oh, you've been very quiet, haven't you?
Look at where he fucking is.
A little bit empty.
Jesus Christ!
Oh, we lost him.
You media whores, you lot.
Rich. Where are they now?
Fuck yourself.
You tell us.
Ask bloody anyway, Chris Morris says he fucking knows.
That's why you don't really talk. Just you wrong-faced chuffer. And of course, Fuzzy Albin, if people want to find you over there on the Twitter, where can we do that?
I'm on at Dan Fudge. Keep an eye on at TWWcast for the details of the competition. But yeah, at Dan Fudge, that's where I am.
Fantastic. Of course, if you'd like to get all the me over there on the Twitter, you can do that at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. Get all the podcasts, as Fudgy said, at TWWcast. Get us over there on the Facebooks. James, give us a shout out for our wonderful website, because I always forget it.
It's really hard. It's thewednesdayweek.co.uk. I mean, really hard.
.co.uk or .com. I always get it confused. I'm a gentleman of a certain age these days, Holby. And of course, get us over there on the YouTubes and everywhere else as well. Ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, even if this lot have been a right miserable bunch of chuff nuggets this week. It's absolute pleasure as always. Be good, be safe, and we shall see you real soon.
There's a chance here, a great save by Turner from McClare. A terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in. You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving that.
Right, bunch of what? Chuff nuggets, did you say?
Chuff nugget. I'm going to use that to replace some of my swear words on Twitter.
Sounds like it's like the McDonald's special, box of 12 chuff nuggets, just for Christmas.
The smoke,
chestnut and chuff nuggets.
If the whole world replaced their swear words with a variation of chuff, the world would be a much happier place.